Welcome everybody. Great turnout, Jeff. Great turnout. You guys have learned so much today, which is fantastic. You've got some great speakers out there, a lot of people who know a lot of things that you are yearning to learn. And that is fantastic. And congratulations as well to everybody, because you're taking another step in your life to create wealth for yourself and for your family, which is so big to do. And a lot of you here might be part-time. Some of you may have not even started yet. And I know there's a couple familiar faces here who have been doing about 10, 12 years. So it's great to see people just ready to go. And the great thing is that you have these speakers telling you how to make money. Well, I'm the guy who tells you how to keep it. And that's, wow, yeah. Because you know, a lot of people at times they go and they say, I can't believe I made $300,000. I did 4 flips, this is fantastic. And I just bought another one. You did? Yeah, it was great. Well, you owe $45,000 in taxes. I don't have that. I bought another house. This is how it works out. So you've got to position yourself correctly. You've got to know what Uncle Sam is going to want from what you're doing. He is all of our silent partners out there. And you want to make sure too that you're structured correctly. Because I'm telling you, 95% of the whole entire thing is structuring yourself correctly. You're going to hear more from the attorney who comes up and talks to you about more things, but I really believe in protecting your assets. You know what I'm saying? You want to make sure that you do that. And there's many different ways to do that. And I can't tell you numerous times people just come up and say, oh, I'll have an LLC. Oh, great. How's it taxed? I don't know. Well, how many owners are there? Oh, it's just me. Oh, and what are you doing? Well, I'm primarily doing assignment contracts. Well, you do know you're going to pay an extra 15% in taxes when it's all said and done. You should have been an S Corp. Really? I don't know why anybody didn't tell me that. And there's so many different structures out there because they're so wild. There's S Corps, there's C Corps, there's LLCs. And LLCs are so weird, they can be taxed 5 different ways. Oh, you can actually tax an LLC as a C Corp, an S Corp. Do you want it to pass through your personal? Well, if I got losses, that would really help you out, and I'm making $100 grand a year at my job, yeah, that would help out. But if you're starting out in real estate for the first time and you're doing this and you said, you know what, I'm going full steam ahead, it's time to make money. And that's what you have to do. If you position yourself correctly, you will make money and you will pay a low amount of taxes. My real estate clients pay an average, and Jeff can too attest to this as well, an average of 2.5% in taxes. What? I paid at least 10. I thought the lowest was 10. That's your individual bracket. But there's many more things that we can do. And everybody's situation is different. I cannot really stand here and give you a blanket statement that is good for every single person in this room, because everyone is different. Some of you have 2 people working in your house. Some doesn't work. Some's retired. Some don't want to work. I don't want to work. I fire myself constantly. It's crazy. My wife keeps rehiring me. It's not good. But you just want to make sure that you know what you want to do and how you want to do it. Real estate is so cool because there's so many different things to do in real estate. You know, you can go ahead and you can be a wholesaler. You can be a retailer. You can go ahead and just do assignment contracts. Some of you just want to buy, flip, and resell. Some of you want to buy, rehab, and rent out. And there's so many things to do. And everything I just said has a specific tax structure to it. So yes, there will be times that you want to have multiple corporations. If you go and buy a house, all right, and you're paying, let's say for instance you pick up an $80,000 home. You use one of these great people out here to do a hard money loan. You put down your percentage of it. It's technically paid off per se. Well, you want to buy that in an LLC itself. All right, you want to buy that not in your personal name, in an LLC itself, because it protects your assets, is what you want to do. Interesting tax laws have come up this year. Has anybody heard about all the new craziness going on in taxes? Oh man, It is the biggest reform since 1986. There are over 1,500 changes in the tax code this year. And so many people are going to be surprised at what's going on. And not a good surprise either. You know, when I sent out my letters to my clients this year, I started out, well, here's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because it's a lot of ugly out there. You know, for us having mortgages, anybody here that are real estate investors that have mortgages right now? Anybody? A couple? Good. Few. Great. Do you know they lowered the mortgage interest cap from $1 million to $750,000? And you might be sitting there saying, well, you know, it really, I don't have anything at $750,000. I'm pretty good. I got this one for $200. I got this one for $140, and my primary is $300. It's $750 combined on all of your assets. So it's not per home, it's per person, per taxpayer. So if you're married filing jointly, it's still $750,000 on those mortgages. And that's on your worldwide. Now it doesn't matter if in fact that its rental property is one and your primary is another, it's all on the individual. However, if the LLC goes ahead and gets a mortgage, it is not considered to be part of that cap. Corporations are treated like separate entities. Okay, there are separate things that are happening. And if you use the LLC to get the mortgage, where I can tell you, using the hard money people beforehand, that they do give loans to LLCs. So even though that the LLC that you're starting doesn't have credit, it's you that are actually backing that loan. And again, with these hard money folks, it's a lot easier to use their money than yours, especially when you're first starting out. So we need to look at that. A big, big change this year. This is going to affect so many people. Is there anyone here that live outside the state of Florida? Anyone outside? Okay, we got a few people that are outside the state of Florida. I prepare tax returns for people all around the country and outside of the country. So I'm very familiar with a lot of different state laws and a lot of things of what they're doing. The interesting deduction this year, anybody heard of the SALT cap deduction? No, that wasn't released in the media because it's horrible. That's right. This is the ugly, folks. So when you have your tax return and you're itemizing and you're deducting your mortgage interest, your charitable contributions, and your taxes, you're now capped at $10,000 on your taxes per year. I have clients that are paying $100,000 in the state of New York. I have clients paying $80,000, $90,000 in the state of Montana. They lose it. It's gone. That's the ugly. People are losing more and more money that they don't even realize, because a lot of people go ahead and depend on their accountant to tell them and notify them. Some do, some don't. Some people, actually, I only see once a year. With your accountant in real estate, it is so important to be very proactive. Okay, communication is key. You have to communicate on what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and pre-plan for those taxes coming up. That's key. Planning is key. Taxes are not reactive. Okay, accountants aren't first responders. As much as you all call me at the last minute, hey, I have an emergency! No, we're not first responders. We can plan for things to happen. Great things out there too this year that did help some people. Corporations. Corporations, I'm telling you right now, got the best deal out of everybody. If you have an S corporation, you're in better shape than you realize, which is fantastic to have. If you have this company, I have this particular company I met with a couple days ago. They had $155,000 in profit at the end of the year. And it passes through their personal tax return. So they're going to have to pay taxes on $155,000 at 28%. So I said, hey, let's utilize the law. And we go ahead and now I'm going to purchase a car. Do you need a car? Yeah, well, I have my leases running out. Because I preach leases to everyone, by the way. Because I can write off a lease 100% to the corporation, which is fantastic. And I can still purchase it in my personal name. And my company can pay for that. So I preach leases a lot, but this year, and until 2025, these laws are in effect, I'm going to preach purchase. Why? That $150,000 profit that they had that they paid 28% on, what I said to do, let's do this. What kind of car do you want? So she picked out a Mercedes, beautiful Mercedes-Benz, $111,000 car. Wow, that's out of my price range. It's a lot of money for a car, $111,000. But here's the deal. With the new tax laws, if the S corporation buys it, okay, they can write it off 100% in 1 year. There's no more only 50% depreciation over 5 years, so you don't get that deduction. That's part of the new Section 199A deduction. And if you guys want to write that down so you can look that up, definitely look it up, Section 199A, for your accountants to know. Help educate them as well. Because you want to write this whole car off. So you mean to tell me, I'm going to put down $20,000 in this car, my payments are going to be $1,800 a month. Okay, I can afford that. In 12 months I'm into this car for literally $22,000, or really at that point $32,000. And I get to write off 111? Yeah. What happened to their profit? Now it's down to 40,000. Lower their tax bracket down to 10%. Just by buying their car, they saved over $50,000. Unreal. It's just the craziness that's out there. Corporations now, again, are one of the lowest tax brackets ever. Before last year, a corporation that made $50,000 profit that was a closed company or a C Corp was taxed at 15%. Now it's all flat at 21%. That's why you're seeing a lot of companies starting to come back to the United States, creating more jobs and different things for it, because whether I make $100,000, I'm paying 21 grand, and that's it. If I make 200, 42,000. It's easier. Individuals are now being taxed so high, it's absolutely crazy. And even though they lowered the bracket, and then I saw something in the papers, one lady wanted to do 70% on people. Like, 70%? What are you doing? But you have to know this stuff. This affects your money. Big thing I want to point out, because I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I know you got some great speakers coming in. This is very important that you know. If you have rental property, okay, if you currently have rental property and you're claiming it on your personal tax return, you do qualify for what this new thing is called a QBI deduction. That's part of the Section 199A, okay? You're going to get 20% of whatever that profit is as a deduction on your Form 1040. Oh, an extra 20 on any of the profits. And has anybody taken a look at the new 1040 form? Anybody? No. One, you have. Is it not crazy? Qualified business income. Not for the QBI deduction. No, you're talking about something different. For the QBI deduction, even if I have rental property and I'm having that go on, I still get that qualified for the QBI deduction, Section 199. Doesn't matter how many hours. You're talking what she's talking about, folks, is that do you have to be like an independent, if you're an independent contractor, to show that this is like 100% of your business, and you have to put in so many hours? That does not matter in this situation. It's still, you can get the QBI deduction, which I said, the corporations are the ones who got most of the breaks this year. The people, not so much. So position yourself correctly. Make sure you have these companies. I preach a lot about corporations when I talk about hot and cold companies. Maybe some of you who didn't learn this, I wrote a book in 2005 called Living in Corporate America, where I created a structure using two different corporations to buy and sell, and another corporation to manage. So basically, all my assets were held in one company, and all the rental income was going to another company. Okay, it's called Living in Corporate America if you want to look that up. A lot of great stuff, a lot of great information. There's a ton of stuff that you just need to look up, you need to read. I tell my clients this too, and this is true. Folks, the internet's just not for porn, okay? Really, you can find all kinds of stuff out on the internet if you just go ahead and use Google. You can find all this great stuff out there. Anybody now have S corporations or LLCs? One, two, okay, good. So a few about that, that's great. So just make sure that you're taxed correctly, make sure that you have everything in order. And that's very particular. Those accountants out there, if there's any in the room and stuff, know what I'm talking about and about all the new changes that are out there. The new 1040 form that you guys are going to see is just ridiculous. I mean, it is just, remember when they said they were going to make it the size of a postcard? It kind of is, but you still need 2 sheets of paper for it. It just prints half. And what they did too is they made up now 6 brand new schedules to attach to said 1040 postcard form. So now your 1040 is going to be that much thicker because of all the new laws and all the new changes out there. There's so many things happening. Just keep abreast. Don't look. And I saw an article in the paper last week that says the top 3 tax changes. 3? There's so many out there. There's so many things happening. You need to know what's going on. And I'm telling you, with your accountants that you have now, feel free. I encourage all my clients to learn. I encourage education all the time, because the more that you know, the better off you're going to help yourself out. So if you see something in the newspaper and you're not sure of, cut out the article. If you see something in a online type of thing or on the digital age, take a picture of it, take it with you to the account, say, hey, do I qualify for this? And if not, how can I? And what are the rules behind that? So really the car is a big thing for a lot of people, looking for another car, looking for it, and you can take a ton of deductions out there. Real estate, inventory, really, really, really cool law. And this was fun, and it was tested with guidance, because there's no laws on this new stuff. I'm a real estate investor. I have 5 homes. My 5 homes sit in my inventory per se, and I depreciate those 5 homes every year. I get so much over 27.5 years, okay? And I'm sure that you guys are aware of this depreciation. New law, okay, which is absolutely insane, is that now you can treat inventory as common supplies or goods and write off your entire inventory in the first year. 2, 3, and 4 year, you get 20%. What? What do you mean? I'll put it to you easier. I have a lighting company, does great, okay, Beach Lighting. It's about $900,000 in inventory. His profit at the end of the year is usually around $800,000. All I do is change that inventory using that new law. Now he has a loss and doesn't pay any taxes. It saved him $263,000 this year, just by utilizing the law. Inventory in real estate, if you have that company set up, and it buys, sells, and holds assets that are over here, your inventory, if you're renting especially, is depreciated. Now, you can write it all off in 1 year. Crazy stuff is happening out there. It's all under depreciation. You can look all this stuff up too, anything that I'm telling you. So, laws have changed. You need to be abreast. The accountants need to be up to date, especially with real estate. How many here go to accountants that specialize in real estate? Oh, that's rough, huh? Wow, not a lot of people. Again, accountants, attorneys, and doctors are very similar with their practices. We all go ahead and we specialize in some certain thing, some certain area of expertise that we have. I do real estate and corporation structures. That's my big thing that I do. So your attorneys are some that just specialize in divorce, that's all they do. Another one just specializes in land trust, that's what they do, estates and things like that. So there's a lot going on, there's a lot happening. Educate yourself so you can save some money out there. A lot of you just now today, just by listening to what I said, you're going to be able to look this up and say, wow, you mean I can buy a car? Here's a really cool thing. We did a double dip last year. This is awesome. I had the girl go ahead and lease a car, $1,800 a month lease, till November. In December, we bought the car for $98,000. She got to write off all the lease payments for those 11 months, plus the $98,000 car. She saved $45,000 just out of her pocket in taxes. Absolutely crazy. Questions? I know you gotta have some. I'd love to hear them. Yes, ma'am. Living in Corporate America. I have 2 actually. One's called Living in Corporate America, and that was in 2005. The one in 2009 is Help I'm Facing Foreclosure. What are my options? That was another one that I wrote in 2009 about crazy real estate things that happened then. Bill Tyler. What is it? Certified Tax Experts is my company's name. My wife in the back by the water, she's got a few cards. If you guys want to go ahead and get some, she'll be glad to pass them out to you. Give us a call, see what's going on. More questions? I need some more. Anybody else? Yes?
Do you work with supplementary IRA and/or solo 401k?
Yes, I'm very aware of those, and I deal with a lot of people and I love that. I love people going ahead and buying out of their IRAs. I love the fact that you can flip a property and not pay tax on it at all. It's fantastic. Yes, I do work with them.
Have you heard about restrictions in terms of the frequency of the number of
I didn't see anything new that there were any type of restrictions in there. I just know that you have to use a third party like Entrust or Equity Trust Bank when you're doing that, and I think they would be the one to know how many can do it. I thought that before, I thought it was 3 per year. I don't think they've changed that. In the seminars that I've attended this year, it has not come up that they changed the law, but I absolutely love using my self-directed IRA to buy property, buy land, buy houses, take in rent and I don't pay tax on it. It's fantastic. It's great. More questions? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so that's a good question. The question is there a difference between LLCs and land trusts when it comes to a tax perspective? 150%. A land trust is treated as a disregarded entity. So you're going to pay for it personally anyway. An LLC, I can change it to an S Corp or a C Corp. So if I need the money to stay away from your tax return and don't hit you personally and stay over on this side, I like to go to C. If I know what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and it's okay, this is my only job, I'll let it pass through to your personal tax return and pick up a QBI deduction on those profits on the other end. So they're definitely different. Land trusts are really treated just personal. Even if you have beneficiaries under corporations in the land trust, they're still treated as an individual. There's a lot, guys. There's a lot. Make sure you test your accountants this year. Make sure you inquire. Make sure you ask questions. It's your money. Okay, it's your money. And last closing, the other ugly that you got. Anybody here an employee of another company? Couple people, great. They get W-2s from the other company, and you now remember that great form 2106. It's called Employee Business Expenses. I can write off my meals at work. I can write off my mileage that was excessive. If I'm a first responder, I can write off my training ammunition, my safety gear. I can write off my work boots. I can write off safety glasses. This no longer exists. It's horrible. You cannot write off anything as a W-2 employee anymore. Look to structure yourself as a corporation. Look to go ahead and make sure that you cover everything in all bases. Thank you very much.
Well, now you know why he's been my CPA for 15 years. Now you know why I got to record him every once in a while to just keep up with what he's talking about. I'm glad a lot of people are taking his card and taking him seriously because you save a lot of money. My friend came in, Sam Ali from Orlando. I just want to do a shout out. Him and Rick Valero, they're national speakers, they're behind developments everywhere, just big time people, and honored to see you in the crowd, my friend. My attorney, Jimmy Miller, is an awesome gentleman as well. I surround myself by great business people. I don't like changing business people a lot. That's why when I develop a relationship, it's a long time lasting relationship because real estate is a relationship business. And when I find great people that help me in business, I stay with them and I help them and support them. So please put your hands together for Jimmy Miller. I was going to do.
Well, I've been at this a while. I know Jeff said I'm a probate attorney when he announced it, but the truth is, for 35 years, I was the Board of Realtors attorney here in Palm Beach County for most of the boards. I was also the general counsel to the multiple listing service for this area of Florida. I've served as the chairman of the Palm Beach County Real Estate Committee and been a speaker for the Palm Beach County Bar Association for better than a decade. I sat on the Florida Bar Association's Realtor Relations For 10 years, I had the largest law firm defending real estate agents in Florida. We got between 100 and 200 cases a month. We tried cases, I had 7 associates, we tried cases from Key West to Pensacola, Florida. I've done, coming up on 44,000 closings. In 1 year, with one client, we did $500 million in commercial development. I'm the old guy, and if it deals with dirt, I've probably done it. So, just like Mr. Tyler, when he came up, put your checkbooks away because I'm not here to sell you a thing. What I want to do is talk to you today about how do you keep the largest amount of money you can by following Florida law. How many people in here are investors, real estate investors? Okay. How many of you are actually buying properties and either rehabbing them or selling off the properties? Here's the trick. 90% of all those cases we got dealt with the same issue. And that issue is failure to disclose to your buyer a material factor affecting value. That's the verbiage that's in the case. Let me give you a little case scenario. Somebody comes along, Mr. Davis, and he sees a property that he really likes. So what does he do? He puts in a contract. It's an as-is contract to Mr. Johnson. Signs the contract up. Now he's out there looking at the property, and he happens to bump against one of the baseboards. And that baseboard, when he goes up and touches it, crunch. He starts looking around and he sees that at some point there have been termites that have infested that baseboard. So he starts checking. He then gets a little nervous. He calls his friendly contract and inspection service. They come over and they look at it. They go, you know, you've got a problem. This house, while it does not have an active infestation in termites, it has had a previous infestation in termites which has caused structural damage. And you're going to have to spend some money to fix this up. Now he's already put up $40,000 as a down payment to get this property. So what does he do? He goes to Mr. Johnson and says, I don't want it. Give me back my money. Mr. Johnson says, I'm sorry. You signed an as-is contract. What you see is what you get. You sign on the dotted line and you're buying it. So what happens? Well, they do like most people do. They can't resolve their argument. They each get lawyers and they go to court. Court's not a good place to be, folks. The average lawyer in our area gets somewhere around $450 an hour. When you have a deposition taken, you just blew a couple of $1,000. Time they prepare for it, ask the questions, even if it's not their deposition. And then you order a copy of the deposition, that's going to cost you, $400 or $500 more, up to, I think the highest we paid is about $4,000 for deposition, depending on the length of it. So, court's not the place you want to be. Remember that money you made on those 4 deals? You're watching it go right up in smoke and right out the window. So what happens in our case? Well, how many of you think that Mr. Johnson wins because he signed an as-is contract? How many of you think that on this one, Mr. Davis gets his money back because he found defects? Well, you're kind of both right to begin with, because what happened was Mr. Johnson won at trial, and the case was appealed up. It's a 1985 Florida Supreme Court decision that went all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court came back and it made this statement. It said that the purchase of a residential home is the largest financial transaction that people make in their lives. And therefore, we're going to try and protect those people, because what we're going to do is we're going to say that the seller has an obligation not just to answer questions the buyer may ask, but the seller has an affirmative obligation to disclose, and the language is the one that I stated a moment ago, to use any and all material factors affecting value. So that's the key as to what we're dealing with. Now, we've had all kinds of cases. Because, remember that statement? Any factor that affects material value? I may have a different sensitivity to some issue than you do. So, as I said earlier, 90% of our cases were where typically a buyer, after getting a home and taking possession, finds something they don't like, and they sue who? They sue the seller, and if there was, in our case, if there was a real estate agent involved, they sue the real estate broker and the agent. Now, the real estate agents and brokers, if they were smart, they were on a very good situation because they bought E&O insurance. And we were usually hired because I was the board attorney and knew most of the realtors in the state, the larger real estate brokers. We were hired by them to represent and defend those real estate agents. So they didn't have to reach in their pocket and pay our fees and our costs. But if you are the seller, you don't have that obligation. The closing agent has no responsibility for that. You, as the seller, take that responsibility. So even if you're buying it, and you're going to buy it, close, do a little renovation, and you're going to flip it to someone else, you now have that obligation. Because the Supreme Court in that decision says that sellers, you have a better knowledge of the condition of that property. You know if there's been any roof leaks. You know if the AC system is working. You know if there's been any encroachment arguments or litigation over that. And by golly, you need to tell that to your buyers and let them make an informed decision. Now, fortunately, we were very lucky because we got real good at that, resolving those type of claims. What we would typically do is, the law says that if you know and don't disclose, you have liability. If you don't know and don't disclose, you win the case. And that's good news. The bad news is, when you say won the case, it's kind of like the old saying, nobody wins a fight. It's not good enough in real estate transactions to be right. You have to be able to prove you're right, which means that you've got to document the fact that you made these statements. What happens a lot of times is, well, I told them. I'm going to tell you, it's a shame to say this, but a good liar wins over an honest person in court 99 times out of 100. The liar's used to lying. So they get on that stand, and they don't have any quiver in their voice. They don't shake. They just tell their story. They're better actors. The honest person, in most cases, hasn't been in that situation, has not been in that pressure situation. They get on the stand, and their voice is kind of cracking, and they're nervous, and they kind of stutter, or they don't know what to say, or they'll say something that they didn't really intend to say because they're very nervous in that situation. And to a court, the judge or the jury, what does it do? It makes them look like they're lying. So, we want to be able to avoid those situations. The key here is to disclose. If you have to think, should I disclose something? My answer is, do it. And do it in writing. It's hard to get rid of a piece of paper. And you have that obligation even if you're in that situation. Now, realtors have an advantage because they have this thing called the Florida Association of Realtors. It's a national one. If you ever look, most of the attorneys in town are used to using what we call a FAR-BAR contract. FAR-BAR stands for Florida Association of Realtors, Florida Bar Association. It was a contract that was originally designed back in the 1970s, and it was designed so that attorneys, lenders, real estate agents didn't have to read every little line of that contract. If they had studied it and were familiar with it, all they had to do was look at how it was filled out and any variations or changes that have occurred to that contract. And they should have a very good working knowledge of it. That contract gets modified every year or two. It's probably the most common purchase and sale agreement, by about 80% used in Florida. The committee meets at least once every year, and every 2 years a new version comes out based on changes in the law and changes in the cases. The realtors have the benefit of their association also puts out a disclosure statement. And you notice if you've ever dealt with a realtor on selling a piece of property, they are going to ask you to fill out a multi-page disclosure statement. And they're going to ask you, have you ever had any litigation over the property? Are you aware of any problems with the air conditioning, the roof, or the plumbing system? Do you have the butylene pipes in that? Do you had any encroachment problems? And they're going to ask you to disclose all that. That's used twofold. Number one, it's used to get you, the seller, from having any liability. And number two, it's used to protect the realtor when somebody comes back and says, you didn't tell me. Because they're going to take that disclosure statement and they're going to give it to any buyers that are there. It is a critical element, and I suggest if you haven't, get a hold of one of those. You can design your own, but it's something you need to do. Now, the other thing is that the state of Florida has turned around and they've said there's a couple of things that you don't have to disclose. One of those is, in the old days we didn't know. When HIV first made its appearance and was killing a lot of people in our society, and we really didn't have any drugs to combat it, the question was, if somebody died in a home that had the HIV virus, were we required to disclose that to the prospective buyer? And for the first years we were. And then they came along and said, you know, by Florida statute, we're going to say that HIV patients are a protected class under the HIPAA and federal rules, and you no longer have to disclose, and you should not answer that question if you're asked. The second one was they codified the fact that if a murder had occurred or a death had occurred in that home, it no longer was necessary for you to disclose. But I want to tell you a little funny story of how crazy this can get. This was probably my most humorous case in my, well, I guess I'm coming up, I've been practicing law about 40 years and dealing with dirt for 50 because I was with the attorney that was the founder of the FAR contract when I came out of college. And I worked as a clerk and a paralegal. In those days, we had the first computerized search system in the state of Florida. And back in the early 90s, I did the first controlled business arrangement for joint ventures between realtors and title companies in the United States. My partner was Chicago Title in those days in that aspect. So we've done a lot of different things over those years, but I never had one. You know, I told you it had to be a material factor affecting value. Well, here's a crazy one. We have a woman, 37 years old, buys a nice piece of property up on Jupiter Island. She's going to build there's a home on it. She's going to do a little addition, but she likes the house. The seller had 2 golden retrievers. Used to love to run up and down that beach. Now, of course, you know that this was a few years back because you can't touch an oceanfront piece of property on Jupiter Island now for $2 million. It wasn't far from where Tiger Woods ended up building his, or Celine Dion. But in those days, she got it, $2 million. Sellers had those 2 golden retrievers, so they decided that occasionally their dogs would come down with some fleas. They'd bring a few fleas home and they would have a few fleas in the house. So they didn't want the buyer to have that problem. So they went down to their local Home Depot. You can get it at Home Depot or Lowe's. They bought this chemical called Durspan. Some of you might be familiar with it. It's an insecticide. You mix it with water and you spray it. Most lawn companies are using it on your lawn to kill your chinch bugs and fleas and ticks and all those kinds of things. So they sprayed the house with Durspan so that she would not have to worry about the fleas when she moved in. The woman moves in. She claims that she has a tremendous reaction to the exposure to this Durspan. So what does she do? She sues the seller and she sues the real estate agent, saying that had I known that Durspan was used in that property, I would not have bought this house. So we get her in deposition. We're trying to find out exactly what she's doing, and we find out that what her symptoms are as a result of this. And she proceeds to tell us that as a result of this exposure to Durspan, she no longer likes to engage in sexual relationships. Which Now I'm defending a real estate agent, talk about a material factor affecting value for sexual relationships. Make a long story short, we get to the end of the case. We find out that her appetite had returned. She claimed that her ability to climax had not. And so now I'm looking for an expert witness who's going to tell me what is the value of an orgasm and how many is a woman 37 years old supposed to have in her lifetime so that we can calculate our damages. We ended up winning the case, but at the end of the day, what ended up happening was the insurance company paid us $85,000 to defend that case. How many of you want to spend $85,000 on something that you're right on? So it is key that you disclose any and everything you can and get as much of it done. Now the good news is that in 2011, there was a question as to whether or not you could be found if you didn't know. And in this particular case, the court ruled it was somebody that had bought the house, hired a contractor to do some work. The contractor had done the work, but unbeknownst to the homeowner, the contractors had never gone down and pulled any permits. And so when the buyer went to after buying the home, he found out that no permits were pulled, the work that was done now had to be torn down and started over. He went back against this homeowner. The homeowner defended and said, I didn't know. I hired a licensed general contractor who did the work. I didn't know that they didn't do it. They went all the way to trial in that court and then went up on an appellate level because the trial courts don't get reported as a rule. And at the appellate court they said, no, if they knew about it, they have a problem. If they don't know, and here they had the reasonable expectation by hiring a licensed contractor that the licensed contractor was going to follow the rules and liabilities to do it. So it did not have to be done. So that's the key, and that's the thing I want to enforce. There's a sheet that we left. We're on the first table out there. My son practices law.
Here is the selling.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all right. But we practice law together. He's got a real estate and a finance degree because we've been doing this. I quit being the board attorney when I took over a real estate company that had a defalcation. I ended up with 180 agents, 11 offices from Los Olas all the way up to Vero Beach. And so he's been sort of along and been dealing with the dirt for a number of years with me. But we've got a sheet out there that has some notes on it to tell you about those items that you need to get. So I would suggest that you pick it up and utilize it. With all those title companies, Jeff and John got us back into the title business. We now have Sunshine State Title with them. We are, in all those closings, you can imagine with 40, well, I want to do 55,000 before I'm through, and I should finish that in about the next 2 years with some of the things we've got going on with some of our other partners. But we are investor friendly, if you know it. I'm not telling you to use us. I am telling you, use a good title company and use a good attorney. If you have a question, ask one. And ask around before you hire an attorney. I finished a trial. I still do some trial work. But it all deals with dirt. 3 weeks ago, I went with a client that had done a short sale. Young lady sold her property. She hired an attorney to help her in a short sale. She did the short sale. And what happens? Well, they get the agreement cut with the bank to accept her buyer. Buyer's a cash buyer. He's finished. He sends over the money. She goes down, signs all her closing documents, thinks she's through. Now, it took us 8 years to get this to trial. Neighbor calls her a couple of weeks later, says, your house is going to foreclosure. She says, it can't be. I signed all the closing documents. She contacts the attorney that represented her. He says, no, there's no problem. They must have crossed in the mail. You know, you signed the short sale agreement. I sent the check in. There's no problem. The unfortunate thing is he never sent the check in. He pocketed the money. We figure he got away with $4 to $5 million. She's the only American that he did it to. He was finished and he was dealing in the Finnish community. We got him disbarred. We got a criminal conviction. And we couldn't get to civil trial. He did everything he possibly could. He filed bankruptcy. Unfortunately, civil theft is not something that's dischargeable in bankruptcy for him. But he didn't tell that to the court, in bankruptcy court. He filed bankruptcy. He got his bankruptcy documents. And when we went to get a civil judgment, they came up and said, oh, bankruptcy. They had to go back and reopen that bankruptcy. Make a long story short, we ended up getting it open, and 2 weeks ago I got a judgment against him, because in that interim time, the bank came back and entered a $100,000 deficiency judgment against her. So we ended up getting a judgment against him for a little over $400,000. Check out the people you're using. Ask your friends who they're using and how happy they are. That's the third attorney in my career I've had disbarred, and I have one that I'm working on right now that practices in this community. So be careful who you use. Don't have to use us. There's a lot of good attorneys out there. Disclose. Check out your people, check out your title companies, check out your people, because in both cases, these people had their title companies as well. The one that I'm currently dealing with and the one that I just went through. He closed that supposed short sale through his title company. So with that, folks, I hope we meet in lots of closings and never in court.
So we actually have not only a good attorney, but a great attorney. He'll be right out there. If you got questions, go right out the door. He'll be more than happy to speak with you forever. His name is Jimmy Miller. SunshineStateTitle.net. SunshineStateTitle.net. All the information, everything as they say. So you got a great attorney trying to get these crappy attorneys out of the picture. Isn't that great? Because how many times do we deal with attorneys and they're terrible, and then what? And we're left holding the bag. And it doesn't turn out the way we want. And then you're going to go and sue an attorney? What attorney is going to sue an attorney? Only one with high moral fiber. That's why we connected with these people. Long-term real estate relationships. I want to have a long-term relationship with the good people, not the bad people, because your name is everything you've got these days. And so far mine's good. And it ain't going to get bad. And I'm not going to surround myself by bad people. And if I find out there's bad people, I don't do business with them. That's all there is to it. It's not about the money. I'm going to be in this until the end of my life. Without further ado, we have TV stars here. I woke up the other night, it was like a Wednesday evening, flipping through the channels. I was like, damn, it's Tim and Angelo. So we're going to do a little thing here. Attempting to do it. Oh, there we go. Volume up.
You don't even have to announce it, we'll do it for you.
Are these still pictures? This is a video.
It's supposed to be a video.
Okay, cool. All right, so did you hear about the two guys who went into the bar? I haven't seen this one, so I'm actually looking forward to it.
Selling season. Oh, why should I be alive, you know?
This is Angelo. They have been flipping homes since 2001 and have flipped over 3,000 properties. They buy houses for cash. No scripts here, no setup scene, just real guys.
Well, it's a good thing we can make a whole bunch of money and buying and selling houses because we had to do this kind of stuff.
We are in the selling season. Oh, why should I be alive, you know?
This is Angelo. They have been flipping homes since 2001 and have flipped over 3,000 properties. They buy houses for cash. No scripts here, no setup scene, just real guys making real deals. No matter what your ultimate lifestyle looks like, you have to find a way to fund plus. So if you're ready to earn money, balance your life, and live your dreams, those flipping guys.
So, real quick, before I even get into today's agenda, you know, my name is Angelo. I'll tell you a little bit about Gene, my partner, in a second. Gene and I, and I'll go into this in a little bit, have been business partners for quite some time. Gene was actually the guy that got me started in this business. So, Gene's much older than I am. Much older than I am. No, Gene got me started in the business, and I'll go in a little bit as I go and tell you a little bit about how it started, where we started, and how amazing what we built together was. So that's the start. So we're going to do three things today. One is we're trying to get three things out of this as a company. One thing is we are looking for some people to join us in our office down in Broward. One or two key people, and you know, who have a real estate license or are looking to get a real estate license and are really looking to dive into this business. So if that's you, maybe we should talk afterwards. Number two is we want to get our name out there. We're cash buyers. We're buying nationwide. So if you're a new wholesaler or a realtor and you're looking for someone that's going to buy your properties locally or some places nationally, we are them. So you need our numbers, okay? Number three is we also do some teaching, but in a completely different way than everyone else we've heard here today. And we were going to have a seminar in about 3 weeks, and we'll tell you a little bit about that later. Okay? Three things. So now you know what we're going to talk about, what are my objectives, and then we'll get into a little bit more. So today's agenda, mindset. Let's just say my mindset, the mindset you're going to hear from me is a lot different than the other mindset that you heard today. Three types of real estate investing. Successful chains of investors, what you need to become an expert wholesaler, and then everyone's favorite, the 7 mistakes real estate investors make on their first deal. As you see, we're looking to teach you a little something today. So it's interactive. If you have questions, raise your hand, and we'll go from there. So, Baycon, you guys saw our booth out there, right? It's a company Gene and I formed in 2003, and we basically are wholesalers. You know, our business plan is business model is real simple. We get something under contract, and we try to flip it. That's what we're really good at. If we don't flip it, then we'll close it, we'll renovate it, sell it for a profit, or we'll keep it as a rental. So we do all 3 facets of real estate investing, which I told you we're going to talk about that. So the 3 types of real estate investing that we'll talk about: wholesaling, buy, fix, sell, and buy, fix, hold. You've all heard those terms for sure. Bank on it, that's our company. 888 for you to sell is another company that you might have seen around. That is a company that we also own, that we do all our marketing for properties. We also have a real estate investment club. It's a daytime. We need to add we have another one on there. We need to add. We have 2 real estate investor clubs now. One is Weston Real Estate Investment Club. Meets on the last Wednesday of every month at lunch in Weston. It's awesome. Everyone gets a chance to speak. It's a networking meeting, the true sense of the word. So there's none of this kind of stuff there. And then we also have one that we're running in Miami, which is the 3rd Thursday, or 2nd Thursday of every month down in Gables. And if you're on our list, if you go to bankonic.com and sign up for our list, you'll also be able to sign up for all the events that we are doing around town. So, as you heard, we were also on A&E, but we were not on A&E in 2008. We were on A&E last year. We did a local show, which is kind of cool. So all the properties that we filmed were in Florida. All of them, except 2 were in South Florida. 2 of them were in the Sarasota County area. So it was a cool show. If any of you guys got to watch it, if you didn't get to watch it, it's you can go to A&E on demand right now, or Amazon Prime. And actually, if you go on A&E.com, it's actually, you can watch it right from there. So watch it. It's pretty funny. It's the premise of the show is kind of like Storage Wars. You guys ever see Storage Wars? So the premise of the show is us versus 2 other, there's no other way to say it, groups or couples, right? So we were the only dudes, right? So there's 2 dudes, a married couple, and then a couple that were not married, but they fought a whole lot. And Gene and I don't really have much drama, but we do make fun of each other a lot, so it's fun to watch. So about us, Gene, myself, Angelo, I went to the University of Florida. Mr. Dinkel also went to the University of Florida, I found out today. I have 2 kids. I have a daughter that's 12. I have a son that's 11. I coach their teams. I get to spend a whole lot of time with them. I don't miss anything at school, and that's all through real estate. I have, you know, I think my next slide says, Gene and I, I'll put this into perspective. Gene and I have been business partners for 17 years. Okay? So we're in South Florida. Him and I have been sharing a bank account, doing business together for 17 years. So we're stable, we're here, you know, and we are going. Our office is in Weston. We're real estate investors, as you know. We buy single family, multi-family, commercial, retail, land, you name it, we buy it. This is new, this is a new slide. We are nationwide. We are now going up to, as Gene likes to call it, the Rust Belt, but we're buying in Michigan, we buy some in North Carolina, some in Georgia. Detroit is amazing. If you guys have any properties in that area, we are your buyers. There's areas we buy throughout Florida, we're expanding to North Carolina, and we even buy in Detroit. And we try to buy 4 to 5 properties a week. That's our goal. We also have people within our office network that also try. So very attainable goal. We're cash buyers, as we tell. We don't take commissions. So if you're a realtor and you want to sell something, the money's yours. We're just looking for the opportunity. All right, so let's get some interaction. Who's done one real estate deal in the last 6 months in this room? Awesome. Who's done 2? Awesome. 3, 4. Okay, cool, man. So we got some people in here. You guys need my number. You can call us. This is my favorite part. This is the part I like to talk about. I like to spend a little bit of time here. So you heard me, you know, kind of just toss out there a little bit about free time and why real estate is about me and my family. And, you know, I grew up without a father, so the fact that I can spend the amount of time that I spend with my kids is very important to me. And I basically put that on this type of freedom that I have through this career. So anyway, first and foremost, I have a confession. I do not care about money as much as prior people on the stage care about money. I care about quality of life. I care about being able to do the things when I want to do it. Obviously, you need money to do those things, and I'm not saying that that's a negative thing. I'm just saying it's not my focus. It's not my first thing on my priority. I also did not fly here in a Learjet. I did not come here in a helicopter. I have a very nice pickup truck, but that's how I got here today. And that is what is important to Gene and I, is the quality of our lives, not the showiness of our lives. Okay? So for us, it's about comfort. Well, for me, it's about comfort and flexibility. Man, it's about having a hobby. You know, if all you do is work, and you don't have anything to do, you don't have time to do the things you like to do, whether it's travel. I like to spearfish. Gene over here, you guys, you're gonna have to stop. Gene over here just earned his blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Right? So give him a hand round of applause. So every 5 years. Well, wait. It took him 5 years, but he did it, and he was there, and it was, you know how hard it is to start? Like, go into class with a bunch of 20-year-olds and let them choke you and try to pull your arm off the body. That's what you do, you know? That's something we both like to do. And actually, so you have to have a hobby, you know? So you have to have something else, some physical outlet, some mental outlet, whatever it is that you need to have a hobby. Am I better there?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't been talking about the mic the whole time. I'm pretty loud, sorry. All right, so, yeah. Yeah, I had to choose a long time ago whether to be good looking or smart, so. Anyway, it's about enjoying what you do and doing it with the people that you want to do it with, right? It's working with their why in mind. Now, everyone heard this term, and I didn't make it up, but for me, it's real simple. My why is my legacy, which is my children, my wife. I think, you know what, despite popular belief, I think you can be happily married. I am. I love being married. It's not a negative thing, and that's my why. So doing the things that you want to do, when you want to do it, with the people you want to do it, and basically teaching them the proper way to live. That's why I do this. So this is the mindset. So this is all related to real estate, right? So for myself, my why isn't working right unless I'm hitting on all cylinders. For me, everyone has different cylinders, right? So for me, cylinders is I gotta be right with God, I gotta be right with my work, I gotta be right with my exercise, I gotta be right with my eat, I gotta be right with all 5 of my pillars, or else I'm just not there, right? So if one of mine are slipping, I'm slipping. Anyway, know your superpower. Everyone has a superpower, right? My superpower is people. I like dealing with people. I can understand people pretty quick. I know when someone's being a snake. I know when someone's being righteous. Something I pick up on right away, so that's my superpower. So know what your superpower is. If your superpower is research, then use your superpower. If your superpower is, waking up early and doing the things that other people don't want to do, then you do that. So just know your superpower and exploit that superpower. That's not something that I came up with. That's actually a Gary Vee thing where he's just, double down on what you do well and keep doing it. So know what that is and exploit it. All right, so the 3 types of real estate investing, I'll go through it quick because we kind of spoke to it. With wholesaling, listen, we buy something cheap, sell for more expensive. It's an age-old business technique. Everyone does it. Gene's going to delve deeper into it and how we do it. Buy, fix, sell. Buy distressed real estate at a significant discount, renovate it for a lump sum profit. Everyone knows what that is. It's what our show is about, what most shows are on there. Buy, fix, hold. Now this one is important. It's when you buy distressed real estate at a significant discount, renovate it, and keep it as a rental. Listen, that's how wealth is built. So as hard as that is, if you got to go to Detroit in order to buy some rental properties, because that's where you can afford it, you need to be doing that. Because the longer, it's one of those things. The bank will lend you, you put in 10%, the bank will lend you 90%, and someone else pays it off. It's an amazing investment. This is something, even if someone isn't in the market for a personal home, we still have an opportunity to sell them an investment or a rental. Realtors, that's for you. So just think about it. You got to think outside the box. If someone isn't looking for a personal home, you still have the opportunity to show them investment properties, correct? So, that's Gene. He's handsome, man. Oh, that's my truck. All right, so look, a little bit about Gene. So, like I said, and I'm going to leave this picture up the whole time I say this, which is going to embarrass him a little bit, so it's awesome. So, Gene got me started in this business. So, Gene was the first person I met in real estate, and that was in 2002. We met, and basically he would tell me what to do and I would run and do it. Like I would try to do it. Like I remember a couple times. I'll tell you 2 quick stories and then I'll get you on there so we can go home. But so the first story was I was driving and he's like, Angelo, you have this big truck. I had a truck, and you got to get a sign on the back of it, right? It says you buy houses, right? I'm like, okay. So I went and bought this magnetic sign at whatever, the magnetic sign store, and put it on there, and I get a phone call. So I get the phone call. So I call Gene up. Hey, dude, someone called me. He's got this house in Miami. In fact, it was in Liberty City. I remember, even though it was almost 20 years ago. And I said, he says he bought it for an investment. It's really messed up. It's framed, and he doesn't know what he wants for it. He just wants me to make an offer. So I think I'm waiting for unwavering wisdom to come out of Gene's mouth. Instead, he says this: just offer him whatever it costs to demo it minus the lot, the lot cost minus demolition. So me not knowing what that means, how do I find that? He tells me how to find it. I go on the public record. I find out that they're saying that the lot is worth, I don't remember, like 5 G's or 6 G's, and I'm like, all right. He wants me to offer him $6,000? No, he wants me to offer him less than $6,000. He wants me to offer him $6,000 minus the cost it took to get the property off the. So I call him, what does it cost to get the property off the thing? He's like, I don't know, a couple grand. So I call this guy up, thinking that he's going to come through the phone and just beat me down, right? Like, who would offer somebody $4 grand for a house, no? So I said, man, so I'm going to have to buy this property, and I'm sure my voice is quivering. And I said, it's going to have to be, I never told this story on stage. And he says, it's going to have to be, I'm like, I'm going to have to pay lot costs, lot whatever, minus demolition, like a 20-something-year-old kid would say. And the guy didn't even miss a beat. He goes, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. And I was like, what? Right? So it worked, right? So I called him, like, it worked. So we drive down, I get this contract, and I think Gene flipped it 2 days later for like 30 G's. That was like probably like our third or fourth deal that we did together. But let me tell you about our first deal we did together. Our first deal we did together, we lost 50 grand. $50,000. Now, lucky for me, and this is going to sound weird, lucky for me, that was spread out over about 9 months. So it didn't sink me because we were doing deals within that span that covered that amount, you know? But this is how I lost 50 grand on a deal. And this is why it's amazing that Gene and I are business partners all these years later. Imagine a kid you're teaching in the business loses 25 grand of your money. That's basically what happened. So it was a Friday night, and he knows I wasn't going to say no. And they call me up and they tell me to go look at the property. So I go look at the property, but it's dark, right? I remember the address of the property, 8265 Casilla Terrace. I'll never forget it, right? And I went and looked at the property. The property was awesome. Tile floor, beautiful inside, decent kitchen, 3-2 on a golf course, like in a neighborhood nicer than I grew up in, like way nicer than I grew up in. So I was like, man, this house is nice, like really nice. So I told him, yeah, it's nice. We're buying it for a sweet deal. And remember I told you it was at night? Remember that detail? Yeah. So I never walked around the property because I couldn't see because it was dark, right? Well, there was a huge structure crack. The back porch was literally falling off the property, like not just the back porch, but the whole back of the house. So, you know how much that cost? I didn't. But we had to pay way less than we paid for the property. So, at that moment, we learned a lot about each other. I owned it, he owned it, and luckily the story ends well in the fact that we were able to, you know, realize our loss over a 9-month period and figure it out and move forward, right? So, Gene's coming up here. Gene, that's my story of Gene. So that should tell you a little bit about Gene. Gene's got 3 kids. He's got a wife. He's my friend, my mentor, my buddy, and listen to what he has to say.
Well, guys, thank you guys very much for hanging out to the end of the day. I know it's a big day, it's Saturdays. Weather didn't get any better out there. I know it started off pretty rough, but nonetheless, it's a Saturday. You guys have a lot of places to go and do. And so thank you very much for hanging out here today. And Jeff and John, tremendous job. You did a beautiful job putting together this whole program. The vendors were fantastic. The speakers were great. I hope you guys learned a lot through a lot of the people that were speaking. And I really appreciate you guys putting together this whole venue. This is not easy. I mean, this is like probably harder than putting together like a wedding or bar mitzvah or a sweet 16 like I just had to put together for my daughter a couple weeks ago. So thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. So but listen, we're not here to hype you guys up. We're not here to tell you about all this amazing stuff that you can do. We're actually here to teach it, okay? We're going to teach you from our experience. We're going to share lessons from basic, very fundamental things that we use in our company and bank on a daily basis. These are the things that Oscar and Brad use on a daily basis, the very first things that we teach guys when you come into our office. And we're going to share with you, okay, real information. So hopefully you guys are cool with that, and you can learn some things, and we even have a cool download at the very end, so you don't necessarily have to take all the notes, but you know, we have some real great information. All right, so Angelo talked a little bit about mindset, talked about the 3 types of real estate investing, which, by the way, who wants to be a wholesaler in here, or who is wholesaling properties? By far, the hardest thing that we do in real estate is wholesaling, okay? It's not easy to wholesale. I know you guys get a list, and another list from another guy, another list, and you just think they're just putting out lists and making money. But the guys at the root of those deals are spending tons of money on advertising, marketing, networking, doing all kinds of things to get those deals so that they can present it to a next-tier investor. Okay, and then on top of that, some of these deals are maybe a little bit tight. They've got a deposit up and there's a gun to their head and they've got to close it within a certain time frame. It's the most stressful part. Buying, fixing, and selling a property is one of the easiest things. And owning real estate for rental properties is, if you get a property manager, is one of the best things that you could possibly do. So really, wholesaling is one of the hardest things, but I know that's what a lot of people want to do because they want to build their cash. And if you don't have a lot of cash, you want to get started wholesaling. Is that right? Is that why most people want to do wholesaling? Right? They want to build their cash? Okay. So, and we can definitely help you out with all these aspects. Where's Terry? Is Terry in here? My man Terry. I just met Terry. Stand up. Terry, you're 20 years old, right?
Yeah.
You just started this business.
Yeah, 8 months ago.
8 months ago. Terry wholesaled me a deal. Okay? The messiest deal I've ever done. This deal was awful. From top to bottom, thousands of dollars in liens. The roof is caving in. There's no bathroom. There's no kitchen. The door's just wide open. There's a homeowners association that all the neighbors are mad about. Okay? And we end up, he's got an out-of-town buyer, a whole messy deal. But anyway, we got the deal. We brought it through the right channels. We had to pay money up front, which by the way, you owe me $500. I forgot to claim from you because I had to pay $500 to Lauderdale. You thought I forgot, right? I did on the HUD, but yeah. I'm gonna take it on the next deal. But anyway, we had to go to Lauderdale Lakes, right? Lauderdale Lakes. We had to go through this whole petition process to get them to mitigate these liens. We found a buyer, which was a contractor. They were super studly buyers. Oscar actually found a buyer. He works with us. Oscar and I have been together for almost 17 years now too, working together.
My daughter was born.
17 years, okay? So we have longevity, we have relationships. And this is going to be a good relationship with Terry. He's just starting out as a young buck, he's hustling, and we're going to do a lot of business together. So anyway, this deal was super messy, but Oscar found a contractor, bought the deal, they got like a 90-day stipulation agreement to bring the property into compliance, and ended up, how much did you make on that deal?
$7,500.
$7,500, check that out. Right, on his first deal. What'd you do?
I quit my job.
He quit his job. I don't know about that. I didn't tell him to do that. But we have another deal that we're working on, and actually there's another deal too. So if you're willing to do the hard work, the deals are out there. But Terry, I don't want to toot my own horn, but was that an easy deal to get done? You think you might have been able to get that done by yourself?
No, not by myself.
Yeah, it's because we have a team. I mean, our title company, we knew what to do. We've navigated through this. Oscar had the right buyer. It wasn't for every buyer. I had seen this property marketed for months and months and months before through 10 different wholesalers, and nobody could put the deal together. Terry brought it, was direct to the seller, and we made the deal happen. Okay, so that's how wholesaling works. Okay, I'm going to talk about the success traits of investors. I'm going to talk about what you need to become, what you need to do to become an expert wholesaler, and we're going to finish with the 7 mistakes real estate investors make on their first deal, okay? Because how do you think we know about the mistakes that people make? We made them. More than once. Some are so fun, we keep making them over and over again, okay? Even in this business, we still make mistakes after we've done thousands of deals, okay? So what we're trying to do is help you prevent making mistakes. Okay, because in this business, what do mistakes cost? Money. Lots of money. Okay, and it's better to make money than lose money. Okay, so we're going to help you do that. Anyway, so to be a successful real estate professional, you need to be knowledgeable. Okay, what do I mean by knowledgeable? You need to know the different areas. You need to know how to comp a little bit. You need to know what things cost to renovate. You need to know a little about a basic contract. Okay, you need to have some basic knowledge of the business, okay? And how do you get that? You get that through research, you get that through networking, you get that through mentors. Man, this is the best time ever in the history of the world to start a business, whether it's a real estate business or any kind of business. I mean, there's so many resources at your fingertips right now. Would you guys agree? Yeah, I mean, there's bigger pockets out there, and there's this website, and there's that guru. There's just a million people that want to teach in this business, and there's a million different stories out there. There's networking. I mean, listen, just if you had never done real estate investing in your entire life, and you came here today, you met hard money lenders that are dying to give you money, right? You found title companies that are willing to protect the deal. You found wholesalers that want to sell you the deal. You saw inspectors that are willing to protect you from anything that you may not know and give you investment. There's a contractor here that'll tell you what things cost to renovate. You had everything right here in one spot to start this business. Okay? This is an amazing, I don't know any other business that you can get off the ground where there's so many resources available to you. I would love to build apps right? Or build websites. You know how hard it is to get an app off the ground and find the right people? To me, that's hard. There might be somebody in this room that says, oh, apps are easy. I have a perfect team. I deal with these guys in India and the Philippines, right? But I haven't found that network, that source where they can teach me how to do that as easy as it is to do real estate investing. So the next thing is be professional. What do I mean by professional? Man, being professional is like a lost art, okay? Like answering your phone. God, people don't even answer their phones anymore, especially with if it has a different area code. It's terrible. I call realtors up, hey, I see you got this really cool deal. They don't answer the phone. I email them, I text them, I can't get in touch with them. Okay? So be professional. So if you say you're going to do something at a certain time, do it. And even if you don't have an answer, call back person and say, listen, I know I told you I was going to tell you this by 3. I don't have the answer, but I want to let you know I'm still working on it. That's just being professional. And is that a lost art? Do people do that anymore? It's a totally lost art. Okay? But being a professional is very important. Okay? Because you are your brand. You yourself are your brand, and you want to promote your brand. And the best way to promote your brand would be knowledgeable, professional, and then savvy. Savvy is like the difference between being book smart and being wise. Okay, there's a lot of people that are book smart, but there's a lot of people that are wise. Grandma is very wise. Grandma's wise because she's been through so much. Okay, so like an example, Angelo, there was a few years ago, we had this deal up in Gainesville. It was a vacant piece of land. It was site plan approved, and we had plans and everything for like 60 units to build in Gainesville. We were buying from a guy that had many more gray hairs than us in the business, a super smart guy, and he had this property for 3 years and he could not sell it. Angelo goes up there and in 5 minutes writes a contract with the guy and buys the property from him. Okay? Angelo knew that the guy was using his brother to market the property. The guy was only marketing the property in Gainesville. Okay? We knew that down here in South Florida, we had a buyer. Okay? And that most people would say, oh, well, geez, this guy's been trying to sell it for 3 years. You just can't sell it for that price. Right? Would that be a logical conclusion? It just can't be sold for that price? We bought it and we flipped it like a month later, made $200,000. That's the difference between, that's the difference about being savvy. Okay? That's knowing where to kind of fill in the blanks when other people don't necessarily see it. And fourth, and this is where most people fall apart when it comes to real estate investing or any business, okay? People give up way too quick, okay? Has anybody ever given up on something? I've given up. I've given up on things, okay? But in this business, you have to be tenacious, okay? That means you have to get up, you have to roll with the punches. You will get punched. You will have deals fall through, okay? You will make mistakes. You will say the wrong thing, okay? But you have to get back up and get going and learn from those mistakes, okay? They have that little expression, you're either, you never fail, you just learn, okay? And that's being tenacious. You have to get up every day and work this business. This business, flipping houses, is relentless. Okay, it's one of the things that I dislike the most about the business. Is that it's relentless because I get a bunch of properties under contract, I sell them, and then what? What am I? I start from scratch. I'm out of business. I got to get more deals. Okay, so I'm not saying this to discourage you. I'm just telling you these are the facts of the business. And if you want to be a wholesaler, you want to be a real estate investor, this is what you have to deal with. You have to be ready for it because it's not easy. Okay, it's not easy. Okay, and you see it on TV and this, that, and the other. But I tell you what, it is fun. It is exciting. It is great when you buy a house and you flip it and make a bunch of money. I've got a deal right now in my email. This lady's buying a house, right? And she's assigning it, which means that she's going to just assign the rights of her contract to us. This is a house, maybe it's worth $350,000. We're going to pay $245,000 for it. She's making an $85,000 assignment fee. That's good money. Okay? And it's not a fluke because a few months ago, she did the same thing and made another $85,000. Am I mad at her? Am I bitter? No, because I stand to make $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. She beat me to it. She got it. Good for her. Okay? And that's the way that's how this business is. But there's money to be made, but you got to be there. You got to be in it to win it. All right. So to become an expert wholesaler, one of the first and foremost, most important things you need, and I think this is, I don't care if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a business person, anything. You need to be a good salesperson. Okay? You need to be able to communicate your point. You need to be able to read people. You need to find out if that person is emotional, if he's logical, if she's logical. Find out who the decision maker is, and you have to you have to make your presentation to what is what's going to motivate them. So you have to have good salesmanship. And that also means when you're buying a property, because the salesmanship kind of leans on over into negotiation. So when you're negotiating with the seller, you need to be able to find out what is their main reason why they want to sell it, why are they going to sell it at a discount, how much are they really need. There's so many things, and that's all salesmanship. Salesmanship is, as the cliche goes, it's a 2-to-1 ratio. You listen to one mouth. You listen to a 2-to-1 ratio. You listen 2 times and you talk 1 time. Does that make sense? Am I with you? You guys got me? All right. Sorry, I would like kind of walk around and give you all high fives, but we lost the lanyard, the microphone, one of the other speakers took it home with them, so I have to kind of be here on this microphone. So I'd like to interact with you guys a little bit more. But anyway, salesmanship is super important. Marketing, okay? Marketing, you need to be an expert marketer, okay? What is an expert marketer? Man, there's all different ways. When you're trying to buy deals, you have to touch base. When you're trying to build your cash buyer list, you've got to be able to touch people however you can. TV advertising, very expensive, but it's good. Radio advertising, expensive, but it's good. Social media advertising, inexpensive, and it's excellent. Okay? Postcards are good. Letters are good. So there's a lot of different ways to market and find this email marketing, getting your database and marketing people through emails, very important. You need to understand the process and how to do all these things to be a wholesaler. Networking. I'll be honest, we spend a ton of money in advertising, Google AdWords, social media, you name it. But our best deals always come from networking. And that's why we're here today, just like Angelo said. One of the most important things is that we establish ourselves as that you guys can call us if you have an interesting opportunity. Okay, and maybe you have it under contract, maybe you don't have it under contract, maybe you need some advice, but we're willing to partner with anybody in this room that has an interesting deal. And not just in Palm Beach, it could be in Broward, Dade, it could be anywhere in the state, and really anywhere national. There's a lady here, is Teresa still here?
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking about a deal right now in Georgia, okay? So we're looking, we'll do a deal there. We're heavily invested down in Detroit. So if you've got some interesting opportunities, or if you have buyers that are looking for places to get a good return on investment, we can work with you and find deals for them, okay? So we're looking to build our network and build our relationships. That's what we do. That's why we've been in business for so long, and how we've been in business so long is by doing people right and doing good deals with people. All right, so salesmanship, marketing, networking, and comping. Learning how to comp. When I started the business, it was very difficult to comp. Okay, now you've got Zillow, Trulia, you've got the property tax records right at your fingertips. There's so many resources to at least give you a ballpark figure of what a property is worth. Now Zillow isn't the end all, and Trulia is not the end all.